Okay.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
No, we already did.
Did I fix it? Did we fix it?
I think you did, at least for now. We rebooted the internet.
Nice.
We're coming back. We're back, baby.
Had to weld together the fiber optic again.
Yes. Take two. Thank you, Vicky. Thanks for coming back. Lily, what happened was my internet.
Tell your friends, go get them in here.
I wish I knew.
Chat, go wrangle chat.
I probably have too many like windows up that are streaming the thing, but that's download speed. This was upload speed that kills my streams. And
who knows?
We know about
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Something's up.
Good. Okay, so the same stream
like
seems
I'm
to
using
still be
practically
live.
the same amount of bandwidth and not having an issue.
The old stream seems to still be live over on Rumble. Let's see.
Good news, people, and knock on wood, we haven't had another reboot of the entire computer. So yeah, I think we figured that out.
One problem's been solved, and now we just have others. Yes. Sean, yeah, it's the internet gremlins again.
Wish y'all knew, dude. Duct tape and bubble gum, that's what we're working with here, all right? We're doing our best. So, you know.
Yeah, Natalie, hopefully Natalie makes it back. Angel, like Angel said, we did make a new stream. We're here, and we're ready to go again. We were on what I have is like the last person that I want to feature, and then we're going to do a lightning round, and then we'll get to boats, and hopefully everything holds out the way it should. All right.
Yeah, fuck it. We got time.
All right. So I did want to cover this story by my friend, The Dissident. And The Dissident, again, is a co-founder of INN, and he's one of the original people that Reef and I turned to with the original idea of having writers write original stories that we then cover on our network that really nobody else is talking about because they're network exclusives, and showcasing those writers and kind of an ecosystem that supports the live streams with original articles. And it hasn't quite worked out that way, although The Dissident has been writing some incredible stuff the last couple of years, the last year or so, since he came back from a 2-year break. And he's been really on it this week. So I wanted to bring a few of his articles with some supporting stuff behind it, and talking about that. So one of the big stories that happened last week, and it happened as we were going live, I think, or the day before we went live. I already had the rundown set for the show, but that 31 journalists were murdered in Yemen by Israel. And we know that Israel loves murdering journalists. Israel loves murdering healthcare workers, anyone that could possibly support an infrastructure that might oppose what they're doing in stealing the land and murdering others. So what do they have to do? They have to kill those people. So what The Dissident writes is that during Israel's recent bombing of Yemen's capital, Sana'a, they committed the single most deadly massacre of journalists in history, a story that went completely ignored in mainstream corporate-controlled media. Press TV's Youssef Ramazani reports that last Wednesday, Israel targeted the Al Yaman and 26 September newspapers based in Sana'a. As Ramazani notes, quote, a total of 58 people were killed in that attack, including 32 journalists and media professionals, making it the single deadliest attack on journalists ever recorded. Among the martyrs were well-known reporters, and here is a list of 30 journalists and media figures killed in the strike. Okay, I'm not going to list all the names, but they're here. And it's a damn shame that they were all murdered. Journalism is not a crime. Journalism should not be a death sentence. All right. As antiwar.com reported. Indie Media Award honoree antiwar.com. Quote, the Yemeni Journalists Union said that it strongly condemns this heinous war crime committed by the brutal Israeli aggression on Wednesday, September 10th, through its direct targeting of the offices of 26 September newspaper, an Al Yemen newspaper in the capital. Something else happened on September 10th. Remember that? Another big thing that everybody in our country is distracted with and yelling at each other about still. The Forum of Palestinian Journalists also condemned the massacre, writing, quote, Forum of Palestinian Journalists vehemently condemned the Israeli occupation army's bombing of the headquarters of 2 Yemeni newspapers, which resulted in the death and injury of many journalists and civilians. Yep. That's weird.
We're fucked.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Sean. All right. The press release noted that the forum connected the bombing of the Yemeni press with the systematic targeting of Palestinian journalists in Gaza, stressing that Israel is implementing a unified policy against Arab media to, quote, erase the truth or to set the narrative, both. 26 September put out an article saying that they were targeted for reporting on the genocide in Gaza. All right. The paper compared Israel's bombing of Yemen to the genocide in Gaza. Right. The IDF has admitted to striking the newspaper headquarters, accusing them of being, quote, the headquarters of the Houthis propaganda division, the resistance militia group which has fought against the Israeli genocide in Gaza in solidarity with the Palestinians. They've done more to support Palestinians than just about anyone. Israel's targeting and killing of journalists in Yemen is part of its broader assault on 6 countries. Because along with its bombing of Yemen, this just last week, okay, Israel had bombed Qatar, Doha, in a strike targeting Hamas negotiators to stop that ceasefire agreement possibly from happening in Gaza. All right. They continued their genocidal assault on Gaza, killing 150 people and injuring another 540 since Monday. That was again last week. They bombed the Bekaa and Hermel districts in eastern Lebanon and carried out another drone strike near Beirut in violation of their ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah. Because ceasefire just means that you stop, not that Israel has to. They bombed several sites in Syria, including a Syrian Air Force base in Homs and a military barracks near Latakia, in order to weaken the Syrian military and expand territory further into the Israeli occupied Golan Heights. And they also bombed...
And now, international news from Al Jazeera.
Car bombing in Syria, yeah. 37 people killed, ooh, the people are dead.
I wish that wasn't like more the reality than Al Jazeera just declared. But they also bombed the flotilla ship. You're still muted, I think, by the way.
You're muted.
Bombed the global Samud flotilla's ship while docked in Tunisia, which was another act of war on Tunisia. It also was an act of war on the United Kingdom, technically, because there was a British flagged ship that was attacked. This doesn't even include Israel's raid and mass detention of thousands of Palestinian civilians in the West Bank. Yes, I speak it.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Right, I do. I say the same to me all the time.
Along with the 270 journalists targeted and killed in Gaza by Israel, they now have killed at least 30 journalists in Yemen while carrying out acts of war against 6 countries, all to continue the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Gaza and expand the Greater Israel Project. Fuck Israel.
Yep.
Also, they murdered Reuters journalists in southern Lebanon a while back. So there's the count is just higher than anyone's ever attacked journalists.
Yep.
And again, Jason Hickel confirming absolutely wild that Israel targeted and massacred 31 journalists and media staff in Yemen second deadliest attack on journalists ever recorded. Not the deadliest, but apparently the second. And the Israel regime is built on war crimes. Totally agree. Another article from the Dissident this week, last Sunday, but thankfully this one did not come to pass. Marco Rubio was talking about and threatening to revoke the passports of Americans critical of Israel. That certainly made me sit up and take notice. Because now you're including me. And fuck you for that, little narco. So apparently that provision in whatever bill that was included to potentially give the Secretary of State the power to do that has been voted down. Thankfully. But I wanted to point out that in real time, while this was happening, the dissidents calling it out, letting people know about it so that action can be taken, protests and, people can be alerted to what's happening so it can be stopped before it becomes law instead of just a proposed bill. So thank you to him for letting people know about that. And again, he's taking this from a couple of different places there. The Intercept, we don't really like the Intercept, but they're fed stuff. And sometimes they have, they're the people that break the news. All right. Then you have who's behind this bill. What a shock. It's Brian Mast and AIPAC, right? The biggest funders behind it. Trident Capital, Carlyle Group. We talked about the Carlyle Group before. Right. Times of Israel has described him as a zealous pro-Israel Republican who's volunteered with a group that assists the Israeli army. That's the dude with the fake legs, like Lieutenant Dan. This cat, this piece of shit. Wearing his IDF uniform in the halls of Congress. He should be arrested. All right. He's garbage. We've talked about him plenty. I don't want to give him any platform. But he's the person introducing that.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Yeah. But what he wants to do is point out lessons from the UK. Look at how Rubio and the Trump admin will weaponize anti-terror legislation to crack down on critics of Israel. One only has to look to the UK as an example with their terrorism act. How they've been persecuting journalists and activists and grandmothers and people on disability for saying that they support Palestine action and that they oppose genocide. Insane, right? But that's what's happening. So the UK Terrorism Act, as Dissident is pointing out, makes it a criminal offense to say anything supportive of a, quote, proscribed terrorist organization, unquote, something that's repeatedly been weaponized by UK's authorities against critics of Israel, because they have deemed Hamas to be a proscribed terrorist organization. They've deemed Palestine Action to be a proscribed terrorist organization. Palestine Action has since disbanded, but apparently that doesn't make a difference if you support them. Supporting a non-existent organization is now deeming you a terrorist. In August of last year, British journalist Richard Medhurst, which we've covered extensively on this show, was arrested at London's Heathrow Airport for expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a proscribed organization over his reporting of critical of Israel's genocide in Gaza and overall of Israeli and Western wars in the Middle East. All right.
Right,
and
right away.
He just goes through some of the people. So there's Sarah Wilkinson and Asa Winstanley. I think we've literally talked about all these folks. Palestine Action being proscribed as a terrorist group, right? And then you've got Francesca Albanese, which they literally put sanctions against her, which is insane.
Terror, terrorism, terror, terrorist, terror organization, terrorist attacks, terrorism, terrorist network, terrorist attacks, terrorist group, terrorist.
Yeah.
Dude, I could just go forever with that.
Recapping all the people that were arrested for protesting. Here's the one where 466 people were arrested. Again, we've covered that extensively on this show, and it's nice to see this kind of recapped in a nice summary article. So if you want to tell somebody what's been happening in the UK, that's a great summary right there to be able to send. Number one, about what happened there and how they're now trying to accomplish the same thing here. Then we've got another story that he wrote as headlines keep breaking and news continues to trickle out as the IDF soldiers continue to speak out. More IDF soldiers now say that they were ordered to commit war crimes and kill children, which we know, but now it's really coming out in their own newspapers, and they're not able to hide it even amongst their own citizens. Some of their citizens are encouraging it, but there are quite a few that still are against them murdering children, thankfully. My God, like, look at how low we've set the bar when baby murder is like too much to ask for some people, not murdering babies with American weapons. Okay. So again, in a new Haaretz article, that's an Israeli newspaper, multiple IDF soldiers admit to killing children. Sure they did. But in Hebrew, the Hebrew edition of Israeli newspaper Haaretz just published an article about IDF soldiers getting PTSD from Gaza, but the article contains several admissions from IDF soldiers of killing children and committing war crimes, which were supported and encouraged by commanders. This all needs to go into the Nuremberg 2.0 tribunals. All of this. They are literally admitting it. This is testimony that needs to be heard and eventually used against these soldiers and the people who commanded them. Following orders was not anything that was acceptable at Nuremberg, and all of these people should swing.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Or not so modern solutions. One IDF soldier who went by the pseudonym Yoni in the article admits to opening fire on children, saying that an IDF soldier yelled, "Terrorists, terrorists," with him saying, "We go into a frenzy," and I immediately go up with the Negev, a kind of machine gun, and start spraying, firing hundreds of bullets. Then we rushed forward. Then I realized it was a mistake, he notes. There was no terrorists there. He said, I saw bodies of children, maybe 8 or 10. I have no idea. It was all blood, full signs of gunfire. I knew it was all about me, that I had done it. Yeah, because they were all unarmed. They were children. You murdered them. Yoni went on to say to his IDF commander that his IDF commander supported the massacre of children, saying, after a few minutes, the company commander came and said coldly, as if he wasn't a human being, they entered an extermination zone. It's their fault. That's how it is in war. Another IDF soldier named in the Nahal Brigade admitted that he was repeatedly given the command to open fire on starving civilians and the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites, saying that, quote, his and his friends' day starts at 3:30 a.m., accompanied by drones and armored forces. They set up a sniper position and wait. And then between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m., the trucks arrived and began unloading their contents. And in the meantime, the residents are trying to move forward to take a good place in the queue, but there's a border in front of them, and they don't notice. That's that fence that had them all penned in like cattle. We showed that picture. That's on a thumbnail that was in the intro. The paper quoted him saying,
I'm sure Israel will just give them shock collars next week, and anyone who gets close to the fucking fence just gets automatically exploded. You know?
Like Scanners, or what was that? Wasn't that the movie Scanners?
Sure.
Had a collar like
Pick
that?
a sci-fi movie. Yeah, a little bomb collar on the outside, something like that. I mean, at this point, how is it not a fucking sci-fi dystopian prison?
Again, the paper quoted this murdering war criminal saying that a line that if they cross, I can shoot them. It's like a game of cat and mouse. They try to come from a different way each time, and I'm there with the sniper rifle, and the officers are shouting at me, get off, get off. I shoot 50 to 60 bullets every day. I stopped counting X's. I have no idea how many I killed, a lot. Children, quote unquote. The IDF sniper testified that his commander ordered him to shoot at children waiting at aid sites, saying the battalion commander would scream on the radio, why don't you take it off? They're advancing toward us. It's dangerous. They're standing there with fucking machine guns, and unarmed babies, children is what's dangerous. The feeling is that we're being put in an impossible situation, and no one prepared us for it. The officers don't care about children dying. They don't care about what it does to my soul. As far as they're concerned, I'm just another tool. Yes, that's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
This is just one of many examples of IOF soldiers saying that they were ordered to fire at civilians at the aid sites, which we've been reporting since they set up the aid distribution sites, which were actually just turkey shoots to murder civilians, and let it be the literal fucking Hunger Games, which you can see in a INN news clip on the INN channel called Hunger Games that Reef and Colin covered a couple weeks ago. Here's more. 2 IDF soldiers telling Haaretz in a separate article, quote, "It's a killing field where I was stationed. Between 1 and 5 people were killed every day. They're treated like a hostile force. No crowd control measures, no tear gas, just live fire with everything imaginable. Heavy machine guns, grenade launchers, mortars. Then, once the center opens, the shooting stops. They know they can approach. Our form of communication is gunfire." Wow. And another one said that they were at a similar event.
People. We kill people because they're pests.
From what we heard, more than 10 people were killed there. When we asked why they opened fire, they were told it was an order from above, and the civilians had posed a threat to the troops. I can say with certainty that the people were not close to the forces and did not endanger them. It was pointless. They were just killed for nothing. We keep seeing this testimony over and over and over again. Now, from the IDF soldiers, on top of from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation whistleblowers like Anthony, what's his name? Begins with a T. I can't remember his last name. But he got carried out of a hearing in D.C. last week for protesting against this. Similarly, multiple IOS soldiers have described similar instances of what Yoni described, commanders creating invisible security parameters and then shooting civilians that enter them without telling them. Yeah, red light, green light, Squid Game. That's absolutely right, Steve Gill. All right. One IDF soldier who spoke to Sky News, right, said that, quote, "We have a territory that we're in, and the commands are everyone that comes inside needs to die. If they're inside, they're dangerous. You need to kill them, no matter who it is. No matter if they're starving and looking for food."
Anthony Aguilar.
Aguilar, that's his name. Tony Aguilar.
Anthony. He does have the H.
Right. All right. IOS soldier admitted it was pretty much like that. Like pretty much everyone that comes into territory, and it might be a teenager riding his bike. It's just poor people, civilians that don't really have too many choices. But the order was given to shoot everyone on sight that crossed that imaginary line. So again, shout out to the dissident on this one. This was a hard one to read. And this came out of Haaretz. But it's important that people that don't read the Israeli newspapers understand that this is what the Israeli newspapers are admitting to their own civilian population. All right. The fourth article is one that I found that was in support of the article that I wrote 10 days ago, which was about removing Israel as a recognized nation in the community of nations, and that a new UN investigation concludes finally and officially that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, which we had already talked about. But he points to a new in-depth report
Diplomatic community
from the UN, the Human Rights Council, which found that Israel is responsible for the commission of genocide in Gaza, unquote. The report documented that Israel's committed 4 out of the 5 genocidal acts defined by the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. So, first, the report found that Israel has committed the first genocidal act defined by the 1948 Genocide Convention, killing members of the group that they're targeting. Okay? Then we've got, and there's a ton of documentation of this. And where's the next one? All right. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. The report notes that Israel is guilty of violating the causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group clause. It notes that Israel has inflicted environmental destruction in Gaza since October 7th, documenting over 60,000 destroyed structures, 20,000 severely damaged structures, 56,000 plus moderately damaged structures, and over 34,000 possibly damaged structures, for a total of over 170,000 structures, on top of all of the roads and the working hospitals and every university and school, and that they continue to blow them up when they rebuild them or try to rebuild them or create a makeshift version of it. It also noted that toxic remnants of daily explosions released into the environment, including hazardous heat and chemical reactions, pose long-term threats for generations. They're destroying the future, which is their intent. All right. Then the third thing is that they are deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Again, specific language. All right. That the report documents that Israel has violated the deliberately inflicting the group conditions clause section of the convention. All right. That the report documents the mass destruction of Gaza's civilian infrastructure. All right. The commission reviewed photos and videos showing the widespread destruction of residential complexes and entire neighborhoods in the Gaza Strip, including agricultural lands, public facilities, religious and cultural sites, schools, universities, and hospitals. Many of these locations were damaged or destroyed by airstrikes, as well as tank and artillery shells, let alone the double taps. Some were destroyed by bulldozers or controlled demolitions, rendering those areas uninhabitable by intent. A resident of Gaza City told the commission that the Israeli security forces looted everything from his house, destroyed his cars, then burned the house. Notably, Israeli soldiers have admitted to burning homes in social media posts. They're not ashamed of it. They're quite proud of it. And then we've got published reports of that. Okay. This is a really interesting, in-depth article just laying out all the receipts. Here, also as a result, the report noted that, quote, Palestinians in Gaza were forcibly transferred and forced to live in inhumane conditions, deprived of food, water, proper housing, and essential medical care. Notably, the Israeli security forces had also intentionally destroyed civilian objects that left Palestinians in Gaza without resources indispensable for their survival and heavily reliant on humanitarian aid that was wholly or substantially blocked by Israeli authorities, even though they deny it and gaslight anyone that states this. Then there's another condition where they're imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, certainly by attacking the healthcare system, by not allowing aid in, by not allowing water so that mothers could nourish their babies, by not allowing diapers in, by not allowing sanitary products for women. Yeah, then they also destroyed all the IVF, all the embryos and sperm samples and unfertilized eggs at these IDF IVF
right,
facilities.
Right, the incubation chambers.
Right. All right. Again, this all, and then proving genocidal intent. To conclude, the report establishes genocidal intent from Israeli officials, citing the fact that as early as October 7th, Israeli officials made statements that indicated their intention to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as a group, not Hamas, Palestinians in Gaza, noting that Israeli authorities made many statements that explicitly called for vengeance, destruction, and annihilation. Of course, collective punishment. And somewhere, I'm sure, in this article mentions collective punishment being a war crime. Okay, and going back to Guy Christensen over here, actually, his link tree, if I remember correctly, his link tree has a link so that you can view. Here it is. 500 quotes by Israeli politicians with genocidal intent. So he's got that there for people to look at as well. All right. Again, genocide. Unquestionably. Fuck Israel. And fuck Israel and anyone supporting them for denying this and trying to gaslight people into denying what we see clearly with our eyes. All right. On top of the fact that they can't even count how many people they've murdered because they're buried under rubble and they had buildings collapse on them. And the Gaza Health Ministry has been destroyed. So the list of families and people hasn't been updated. They can't possibly know. There's people that are missing all over the place. That was the idea, to scatter everybody and eliminate all the records, which is also part of genocidal intent. Destruction of cultural, religious, and educational structures and facilities, siege, starvation, and the blocking of humanitarian aid, targeting of the healthcare system, sexual and gender-based violence. Let's not forget about the raping of Palestinian women and men in Israeli prisons that's been happening, and direct targeting of children. All right? And that's just some of their war crimes that they've gleefully admitted to and put out on tape, including on TikTok, which is one of the reasons why the U.S. government wants to control it on behalf of the Israeli government. Orders have been given. Okay. All right. So, yes, that Bibi Netanyahu decided to say that this is preposterous propaganda by the left. No, it's not. It's documented reality. It's what we've been talking about and showing on this show for 2 years. You know, and this week, we're coming up 2 weeks from now on 2 years since the October 7th prison break. And again, go back to my article about why Israel should not be allowed to exist as a country at this point, that talked about why I believe October 7th was a prison break, because these people had been held prisoner. And that wall was abandoned, allegedly, for a period of hours. It was the most monitored wall in human history, but they just happened to take all of the watch off of it for hours while this was happening? Huh. How about that? How about that? Right? They bulldozed Rachel Corrie. That's right, all one same. May she rest in power. All right? They don't give a fuck. They killed Antinur Egi, which again, Reef and Colin covered on INN News. That's a Turkish American.
Yep.
They murdered a Palestinian American boy, a teenager from Patterson, New Jersey. And media didn't say shit. Cory Booker didn't say shit. Right? And all of these people need to be brought up on charges, need to be brought up on trial for their support of genocide. And the UN needs to take whatever steps to decertify Israel as a country. That's really what I believe needs to happen here. Now, because of that, we're certainly not going to be remonetized. Or did we just drop frames again? Really? Really, fuckers? All right. So, yep, we're dropping frames.
What happened?
We're dropping frames. We're counting cards.
I mean, you don't need to send the stream.
We're dropping frames. I don't think that's what's doing it.
I'm fine.
Okay, now we're back. All right. So I was going to ask people that if you're able to and it means, please support the stream. Okay. The ways to do that are a Cash App, $, Indie News Network, at co-fi.com/Indie News Network. You got paypal.me/Indie News Network. Got IndieNewsNow.com. We're actually live over there now. We still host over there. We self-host. And then we've got the Substacks, INNewsletter.com, where we're going to be live later on tonight for boats smashing into other boats. And we're live right now at IndieMediaToday.com, where actually you see the newest name on the board, Darren Sweeney, became a paid annual subscriber over at IndieMediaToday.com today. So thank you, Darren. I was able to get that up on the slide before we went live. And we really appreciate all the support to help us fund the media you want to see, pay our bills. We just got hit with a Canva bill last week. That was close to $300. We've got the Restream bill for almost $700 coming up later on this year. Zoom bill. And then there's the monthly subscriptions that we have. And again, this is what we need to do to be able to create content and make good shows. And, you know, Reef and Colin had a theme song made earlier, an all new look and creative. And that cost us a little bit. And we're helping Angel fund a laptop. And we also, hopefully, once we get that all paid, I'd like to do some mutual aid in the fourth quarter of this year. That would be really nice to be able to do. So, all right. So we're going to get to the lightning round. I mentioned it earlier. I talked about this article from Descent in Bloom, which is about Alligator Alcatraz, or Auschwitz, which has been ordered to be closed by the state of Florida. And because of it, that gave ICE and Homeland Security the ability or an opportunity to scatter these people and to disappear some of them potentially. So according to Descent in Bloom, and according to these reports, 1,800 men went into Alligator Alcatraz, but only 600 came out. They weren't released, and they weren't deported. They simply vanished from the camp, and no one will say where they went. 800 show no record at all, like they were never even there. Another 450 are listed with no location and only the message, quote, "Call ICE for details." That's frightening. Right? After August 21st, they were given 60 days to dismantle the camp. Not relocated, not released, not deported with paperwork, just disappeared. Over 1,200 human beings are simply gone. This is not a paperwork error. More than 1,200 people have gone missing from a U.S. government facility, and no one in power can say where they are? There's no records of transfer, no confirmed releases, no deportation documents, and no death certificates either. Families are calling every number they can find and getting silence. Lawyers say their clients were removed from rosters without notice, often just hours before a scheduled visit. When they ask where they went, no one answers. The detainee disappears, and so does the paper trail. ICE blames the state. Florida blames ICE. No one provides names, dates, or destinations. No public list of who went in and who came out. And meanwhile, over 1,200 people are simply gone. You don't misplace that many people by accident. You move them in secret. You delay contact just long enough and make sure that nobody outside the system can follow. This is a pattern. This is intent. This is what ICE is doing. Fuck ICE. Okay. So read the rest of this article. I'll put a link to it again in the description afterwards. But this isn't the only thing that ICE is up to. Here's something that's a little bit more important than the Jimmy Kimmel distraction narrative. Here's a free speech issue of our time. Mahmoud Khalil has been ordered to be deported to Syria or Algeria. Yep. Gross. So I don't know, I'm sure they're going to try to appeal this, but at some point he may end up sent and gone. Damn. And they want to do this to like I said, they're trying to do this to anyone that spoke out against Israel, against their genociding Palestinian people. And this guy, he was even opposed to the protesting. He was literally trying to be a mediator between the people that took over Hins Hall and the NYPD on the outside, trying to get them out of the building. He was the one person that they trusted to go inside. and now they've targeted him and they're sending him away. All right. So fuck ICE and the Trump administration for that. And you know I hate Politico, but they've got the story. All right. The third fuck ICE story is also really frightening, having to do with Chicago. Now, this is Jen Budd. Jen Budd is a Border Patrol whistleblower. She's written a book called Against the Wall, former senior patrol agent for Border Patrol turned immigrant rights activist. She uses her Substack money to help fund like water for immigrants and stuff, like water barrels. Great person, great writer. Starting to move her stuff over to Ghost because she doesn't like people on this platform. But thankfully, she hasn't completely left. Okay, but she pointed this out about a story in Chicago. All right. And this is going to have captions and you'll be able to see what's going on here. But they try to get this 19-year-old girl to make a statement. They pulled over a family, again, similar to what happened with Natalia in a way, over an illegal U-turn. In Natalia's case, Anthony Malecki's sister-in-law, it was over a registration potential violation that wasn't even a violation. But in this case, let's watch this real quick.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
ICE detains parents on their 10-year-old son's birthday.
We don't answer questions.
If you tell me he's a citizen, we'll let him go.
We don't answer questions.
A family birthday celebration ended in heartbreak after U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents detained two parents and their 22-year-old son. The family lawyer told CNN that undocumented Mexican immigrants Constantina Ramirez and Moises Enciso and their adult son were detained outside Chicago during a traffic stop after an illegal U-turn. The parents do not have criminal records. The son, who was detained and later released, has pending deferred action for childhood arrival status, or DACA.
He's allowed to be here.
I'm sorry, we don't answer questions.
Just listen to me. If you tell me he's a citizen, we'll let your brother go.
The family lawyer said the 19-year-old daughter, who recorded the video, refused to answer questions because she is wary of ICE agents and knows her Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security told CNN that ICE did not arrest or, quote, pressure any children to answer questions. DHS also said that both parents will remain in ICE custody pending removal proceedings.
That's your brother, right?
That's my brother.
Is he born here, yes or no?
We don't answer questions until our lawyer is
Listen, man.
That's it.
I'm trying to help you out here.
It's okay.
I did it already.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm trying to help you out while I'm arresting your parents.
Don't worry. It's okay.
Right.
Immigration records show that Ramirez and Enciso are being held at separate detention centers in Kentucky and Michigan.
It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
Why?
It's fine. It's fine.
Why are they sending them to other states to hold them?
We're fine.
Michigan and Kentucky. This
American bullshit.
An Illinois family. Now, they did not have a criminal record. They likely were not here legally. And now that this dragnet has been thrown up, and now that ICE is just randomly stopping people in the streets, they're now catching, quote unquote, people who have been here for years or more, decades, that are part of the community, that have been solid, members of society, but now they just are just going to toss them into a jail and deport them or keep them detained and locked up indefinitely. And it's horrible what's happening here. Again, between what we've seen and I said here, why did they take one to Kentucky and one to Michigan? The separation is part of the cruelty intended. All right? He wasn't trying to help them. I'm trying to help you out. No, you're not, because anything you say can and will be used against you and your family in a court of law. There is no doubt about it. Even if their 10-year-old son was born here, that would make him a citizen, I believe. Yeah, Natalie, that's right. They don't care. It's not a meritocracy. It's fascism. And that's really what's going on here for people that haven't recognized that yet. Now, get your audio ready. I'll do it.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
This week, Kamala Harris joined Substack. And perfect. So what do? We did it, Joe. We did it.
Do not come.
Basically, I
Do
wish
not
we.
come.
I
Do
wish
not
she
come.
didn't. I wish she didn't come. I'm guessing that she did not write this. She's clearly, because if she wrote something of her own, it would be cringeworthy as hell. Okay, 2 of the trendings. Okay, so there's somebody wrote an article that was penned under her name. I'm not going to read it, but just the point of the corporate invasion and the mainstream invasion of Substack, in my opinion, is now complete. We didn't need Rachel Maddow, but if Kamala Harris and Joyanne Reid are here, I would say that Substack has gone mainstream. Yes, Descent in Bloom. Oh, my dear Lord Jesus. That is correct.
I call myself a joyful warrior.
No, I call you a drunken warrior, but that's a whole other story.
Never let anyone take your joy from you.
Or your alcohol. That's right. Now, I did want to bring this other story from another Indie Media Award honoree, Common Dreams, talking about the ramping up of fascism and how journalism is not a crime and how they are now trying to Israelize the media here in making anyone that reports on the media, on the military, now get cleared by the military. Trump's new restrictions on Pentagon reporters should alarm every American. And John Quayle, who is the managing editor over at Common Dreams, stepped out from behind his editor's desk to write this one. He doesn't write very often.
Pentagon.
That's correct. Pentagon. Okay. Journalists and defenders of press freedom are expressing alarm and condemnation after the Pentagon, under the command of a President Donald Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Drunken Pete, Whiskey Pete, announced new restrictions on reporters that include pre-approval of stories that include even unclassified material and a new pledge not to publish any material without permission from government officials. How about now? New York Times, among the first to report on a 17-page memo detailing the new rules, noted how the, quote, move could drastically restrict the flow of information about the U.S. military to the public. Like they're intending. The National Press Club. Thank you. The National Press Club was quick to rebuke the restrictions as an assault on the public's right to know and fundamental journalistic freedoms, which is exactly the point. Quote, the Pentagon is now demanding that journalists sign a pledge not to obtain or report any information, even if it's unclassified, unless it's been expressly authorized by the government? This is a direct assault on independent journalism at the very place where independent scrutiny matters most, the $1 trillion a year funded U.S. military.
I can't tell you that. It's classified.
Here you've got Seth Stern, director of advocacy at Freedom of the Press Foundation. I've got my issues with them. Explained to the Times that the government is prohibited by law from demanding journalists surrender their right to investigate the government in exchange for access or credentials. Quote, this policy operates as a prior restraint on publication, which is considered the most serious of First Amendment violations. They don't care. They wipe their ass with the Constitution. The government cannot prohibit journalists from public information merely by claiming it's a secret or even it's a national security threat. Except that's exactly what they've been doing for 20 years, at least. All right. In comments to WAPO, Katie Fallow, Deputy Litigation Director at the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University, Look, you've even got the Zionists at Columbia University, man, called the new policy part of the Trump administration's broader assault on free speech and press freedom, which it is. Any journalist, she added, who publishes only what the government authorizes is doing something other than reporting. I believe a man named Julian Assange said something similar.
Yeah.
All right. The journalism is publishing something that people don't want published. Everything else is just PR or stenography.
WikiLeaks, the Julian Assanges.
Individual journalists, including veteran reporters who've covered the Pentagon for years or decades, also chimed in. Of course, they have. Okay. Taropin said that the rule forbidding the unapproved release of unclassified material, sometimes marked with the acronym CUI, is an incredibly broad and ill-defined rule that could easily be abused. Again, that is their intent. Can't say that enough. So, again, alarming. You need to know that this is what's happening, and you're going to get a lot more sanitized military stories coming out and a lot less stories critical of the U.S. military. Next, I did have a little bit of a fuck Israel segment, and I wanted to bring this video from Anas al-Sharif, one of the still remaining Palestinian journalists, thank goodness. A scene of madness. How can a child's heart endure terror, this kind of terror? How can a father's mind comprehend the survival attempts? Gaza is being exterminated stone by stone and person by person. And I want you to take note of what they're running out, like the background and the scenes while they're running, and what you see. And let's go. Running for their lives.
تعال يا بسكو يا الله انفجارات ضخمة داخل مدرسة النيل الآن يا الله يا الله يا رب.
I mean, just with no time, I mean, just run for your lives. Literally, run for your lives. Here's another one. The Israeli forces reached the Shifa hospital on September 17th. That was 4 days ago. At the square, and asked the family to leave, promising them safety. They numbered 13 people. As soon as they appeared in the street, they were hit by tank shells and all 13 were killed. Translation: Israeli forces reached the Shifa hospital square, ordered a family of 13 to leave, assuring them safety. As soon as they stepped onto the street, they were struck by tank shells and all were killed. Muhammad Smiri. Okay. And then we've also got one more. 2 brave Australian doctors share horrifying testimonies of their first week volunteering in Gaza, specifically their 2 days currently in Gaza City, where Israel is ethnically cleansing nearly 1 million Palestinians and committing horrific massacres to exterminate anyone who remains. And the second half of the video is below. She says, one of them says, we had a beheaded lady come in 9 months pregnant. They had to deliver her with an emergency C-section, and luckily the baby survived. Let's listen to what they have to say. Let's listen to these brave. This is almost 5 minutes. This is long, but we'll do a little sample.
Here's Dr. Nada Aburob and Dr. Saya Aziz. We're 2 doctors from Australia. We're here in Gaza at the moment. We arrived in the middle in Al-Aqsa hospital first, where the situation was disastrous, where we're having kind of kids coming after a strike. With most of like, let's say 70 to 80% of our patients are kids and pregnant women. And the situation was terrible, and there was no water, no food, and people living in the hospital everywhere. It was very common for a person to be the only survivor of their family. Everyone has lost most of their family. It was very hard for us to get in, and there was a lot of restrictions. We were not allowed to bring any baby formula, any money, and the cards don't work. We are hardly surviving and hardly able to help anyone. There's no equipment. They're down to the very basics, running out of working scissors. There's no soap in the theatre room to scrub in, no gloves, nothing at all. We're treating patients on the floor, mass casualty after mass casualty. They're using all the weapons. However, when we came north to Al-Shifa Hospital, it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. We're doing this video because we know that we might die at any time, unfortunately. Our accommodation is in the old delivery room. As you can see, this is the hospital. It's all bombed, but the bombing is still happening. When we came from the middle to the north, we saw people are evacuating. Instead of 20 minutes on the road, it took us around 8 hours to reach. As soon as we reached, bombing after bombing with the Apache, F-35, F-16, rowboats, all sorts of weapons attacking us from everywhere around the hospital. The number of patients and the number of dead bodies arriving are ridiculous. So we're just basically people dead. We have more than 1,500 people still dead under the rubble in the hospital. Today they bombed just in front of the main entrance of the hospital. 2 days ago.
Look at where they're standing.
The issue is we leave our accommodation is an outside walking distance, so we could be at any time at that side of the bomb as an internationals. We're not even being. We've been told we'll be given an evacuation order. No even evacuation order as international people. So the situation here is just disastrous. I can't describe it. In the middle of the mass casualty today, there's no internet and no electricity. We're still out of Wi-Fi, so we can't communicate with our family, we can't put our picture up. And they're asking us to stay silent, otherwise our life will be in danger. What does that supposed to mean? We're just telling you what's happening. We're not allowed to show the photos because it's so traumatic and not allowed to post. But we're documenting this as part of what's happening for the future. Because someone needs to see this. Someone needs to help those poor people. Most of them are just kind of people, or they're just kind of hitting things randomly. There are doctors. Doctors here don't come to work because they're dead. Their family members are dead. Or they've been told to go to the south, at least to save themselves from being killed. So anyone who stays here, they know that they will be killed and they can't come back. So the situation needs to stop. I don't know what to say, but I'm asking for help. And I know that our life is in danger too. So if the help was kind of coming from any part of the world, just can anyone be able to stop this terror and horror, please? Anyone, could you please stop it? People here had enough. We had enough. There's no word to describe. Not sure, sorry, Dr. Said.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jett X Odysee. I'm an anaesthetist who works in Australia, and essentially I'm in a state of shock. We're in Al-Shifa Hospital. We've been here a week. It took us 2 attempts to try and get up to the north to come to Al-Shifa, and we thought it was devastating in Shuhada Al-Aqsa Hospital, where we spent a couple of days, and we come to Al-Shifa and it is catastrophic. It's catalysmic. I can't even begin to explain how horrific the situation is. From an anesthetic point of view, so many simple things that should be straightforward, it's just non-existent. So we have patients walking into theatre. We have patients coming in asking how.
Yeah, there's the rest of it here. There's another 5 minutes. You guys have heard enough. I mean, again, brave. Again, as Pav said, these women have more balls than the entire IDF. Because they're going into harm's way, knowing they're going into harm's way, knowing that they might be killed at any moment. And all they want to do is help patch up the people that are being attacked. That's just, wow. Amazing. Fuck Israel for that too. I also wanted to mention this website, Quiver Quantitative, quiverquant.com. All right. They have been tracking congressional stock trades. And they posted a couple of things this week that I found interesting about lawmakers that are profiting off of the market, and specifically off of companies that they may have ties to or are based in their state or they oversee on a committee. And this one, I've never heard of Representative Cleo Fields before, but I find it interesting that he bought a stock in Bitcoin mining called IREN, and it's the first time that any politician has ever bought this stock. And in just over 2 months, the stock's up 121%. Nobody wants to investigate. Nobody wants to ask a question. How did this guy know? And 121%, that's a nice gain. That's a nice profit in 2 months. But he ain't the only one. We've also got this guy, Tim Moore, who sits on the House Subcommittee on AI. He bought stock in Intel recently on August 1st, which is already up 62%, almost like he knew that they were going to make an announcement that they were giving shares to the Trump administration and that Trump was, giving Intel some kind of a favor, and maybe even that Intel was going to be making a deal with NVIDIA. And NVIDIA was going to be investing, I think they announced $50 billion into Intel. For NVIDIA, by the way, that's nothing. NVIDIA is worth over $4 trillion. So 50 billion compared to 4 trillion, it's like 0.5% of its net worth. It's still a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of what NVIDIA is worth, the investment in Intel is small, but it helped Intel's stock jump from in the mid-20s all the way up to over $30 a share. Again, this guy bought at, buy low, sell high, right? Isn't that what they tell you? So this is the day he bought when it turned green. Right when the market bottomed. What amazing timing. But of course, we can't possibly show a Quiver Quant without the reason why Quiver Quant exists in the first place. That's correct, Mastermind Hour. Nancy Pelosi.
Quiver what?
All right. But her NVIDIA stock's done very well. Her Visa stock's done even better. But the newest one that's gone crazy this year is an AI company called Tempest AI. And my buddy told me about them a few months ago and asked if I had invested in them. And I said, no, I had not. I hadn't even heard of it. But he apparently threw a couple of bucks in because he figured if Nancy's going to make money on it, it's probably going to do pretty well. Again,
no point in saying good morning.
She bought in the 30s, right? And right now it's sitting somewhere around almost 90. So you're talking about almost tripling your money.
Have a good time with your Bitcoin.
Since the 14th of January. And that's, again, just one stock or just one security. And by the way, their portfolio is now worth over $260 million. So one security isn't going to change a whole lot one way or another. That's a funny one. I've never heard that one before. Piglosi. Very funny, Red Angel. Thank you. Yeah. Matching her bra size. Oh, come on, man. 260 million? That's I don't think that she's a 260 million around. That's a pretty big size. All right. But so that was Quiver Quant. Finally, Dissented Bloom wrote an article last Saturday that she actually added me as a co-author to, because the Dominic Michael Trippi research that I had done and the article that I had published back in May was cited and included, and then she piggybacked on top of it and did her own research about Mr. Trippi. That is in the section called Not All Propagandists Are Famous, right? And she talks about him and does a little bit of more background and shows some of the things that I didn't show, like a couple of Facebook comments that had criticized him, the fact that he had a couple of DWIs, license revocations, a probation violation, and a lawsuit. All right. Now, he very famously recently, it's really interesting. He's shown as the CEO of a company called World Independent Media, I believe. World Independent News. It doesn't exist. But when Owen Schroyer left InfoWars, the next day, they announced that he would be launching a new channel under the organization, a newly launched organization, World Independent News. But the only business ever registered under that name at this point was a short-lived LLC in Oregon owned by a 78-year-old man who shut it down in 2007. That, again, further piggybacks on the research that I had done about this cat. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about, even more about the story, go check out this article. This also talked a lot about some of the other propagandists out there. It did address the situation with Charlie Kirk, and this was written just a couple of days after that whole situation happened in Utah, talking about how you're not immune to propaganda. Everyone is subject to it, right? The word's been beaten to death, slapped on everything from CNN to Fox News to TikToks about oat milk. But propaganda is not just old World War II posters of Hitler or grainy films from your history class. It's alive. It's happening right here, right now, shaping what you see and how you think, from your social media feed to the evening news. And of course, you were never taught to notice it. Why would America teach its children how to recognize the lies it feeds them? Why would a system hand you the tools to dismantle the disinformation that it depends on to survive? Think about it. They're never going to give you... Right. So by all means, check out that article. And then we'll do really quickly, because it's midnight, the GoFundMes. Our friend Shanda has been going through fighting small cell lung cancer, and her cancer came back recently. She posted the other day on Friday, I think, or Thursday, just a quick update. I finished 10 rounds of radiation to the legs and ribs this week. I really think it helped, but we won't know till it heals. She starts round 2 of chemo officially on Monday. This one will be much stronger. Damn it, she just got her hair to a place she liked. Girl, well, just hair. She'll go for 3 days every 21 until December 11th. She's hoping to do some live updates. Her and Oz plan on doing a big Halloween show for Beauty and the Boomer. They were live this past Saturday. So she's got goals. And being healthy enough to do a show for all of us is one of those goals, and we love her for it. Thanks for all the donations this week. It's a huge help to know she can get all the help that she needs to start another round, and couldn't do it without everyone here. So thank you to everyone. Please support Shanda in her fight. This again is a link to her GoFundMe and her latest update. And then I also wanted to shout out again Anthony Malecki, who has been fighting on behalf of his sister-in-law, Natalia. There's a GoFundMe for her. How she came to the U.S. with her daughter to pursue a better life, fleeing an abusive ex-husband in the Ukraine who threatened to kill her. Her entire family's here, and now she's being abused by a fascist police state, torturing her for the profits of the prison industrial complex. But worse, they're threatening to deport her now back to Ukraine and separate her from her child and put her child into the foster care system. So, and again, this Natalia story is here. They still need some funds to be raised. And again, I will drop the link to this campaign as well. So if anybody has some money there to be able to help, please do, because this is, like we talked about earlier, ICE is sweeping people off the streets, even if they didn't necessarily do anything wrong. If they don't have the legal documentation to be here, they're going to be put through a process where they're deported. And it's awful, even if they're doing the right things like she was. Finally, Indie News Now. I've mentioned this website a few times tonight. This is what it looks like right now. It is constantly being updated with new content, new articles, new videos as they're being published. All right, there's also a section here to keep the news free. This is where you can support us with Stripe, with a credit card, Cash App, Google Pay, anything you can think of here. You can pay there and support us, as well as the link to the merch store, which is here, and the link to watch live. So we are live here. You can actually even see the chat in a Discord server if you click on the link to here. but this is us actually live right now over at IndieNewsNow.com. It's delayed by a few seconds. So this is the website that I put a lot of time and effort into making sure this works. You can see again, it's already been updated with new content, and it's constantly updating around the clock. So bookmark IndieNewsNow.com. Come back here often, and there will be new fresh content every time you reload it, basically. And again, free to all. Free to all. We don't advertise. We don't do sponsorships, and we don't run ads on here. This is not a monetized website. This originally started so I had a place to be able to do the research from all one location, but it is really helpful and useful as a website for more than me to use. I know that Reef and Colin use it to curate INN news sometimes, and that Angel has been using it more to find stories for Angel in the Afternoon. We also have this nice little handy language translator, so if you do speak a foreign language, you can translate the website, not the articles that it leads to, but at least the links and the titles and who the authors are into a bunch of different languages. So, all right, man. I'm a little spent now. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do some boats smashing into other boats. I appreciate everyone that stuck with us after the crash midway through the stream. I thank everyone for chatting and for participating and for hanging out and for supporting independent media. And yeah, Reef, let's drop the link for boats smashing into other boats in the chats. I will do that so that it goes to all the other platforms too. And I'll drop the Rumble. I'll drop the Rumble link and let Reef do the YouTube link. This will be the Rumble link. We're going to be over on the Ocho, which is our other channel, INN8, the Ocho, and we'll be live over there. Again, love you all. Thank you for hanging out. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. We'll see you soon, fam.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say?
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want?